Alright guys, so today I'm going to be tying a just classic Baetis pattern. This is called the JuJu Baetis. It has become probably one of the most popular Baetis patterns out there, and for good reason. A couple things I love about this fly is that number one, it's a great imitation of a Baetis, which just a great prolific hatch in the spring. Definitely one that you want to be imitating. Another thing that is great about this fly is that, as you will see later on, it has a very sleek body shape, and because of that sleek body shape, it really doesn't have very much resistance in the water, so it gets down really quick. Alright, but we'll talk about that in a minute. So I've started my thread. I'm trying to keep kind of an even body as I come down towards the tail. I'm right near the bend of the hook, and then this is my first material, and I kind of already wed it so it stay together, but you can see this is a dyed mallard flank feather. This is in a kind of yellowish olive color, so I like to just go ahead and wet them when I tie them on. Just keeps them all together, all the same length. So I'll go ahead, just trap my material right up on top, 2 loose wraps, and then what I can do from there is just go ahead and pull it down to the length that I want that. Let's say is about good. And now I can tie it down, and as I wrap forward here, I am just going to kind of hold these feathers in place just to make sure that they stay right up on top, because this fly, the base of it is thread, and then the wires wrap over the top of that, and those wires, really are gonna end up being whatever shape the underbody is. Those wires are going to be that same shape. Alright, cut that off flush right up at the head there. Can wrap down those last little bits. So I have a pretty even little body taper there starting out. So now I can go ahead and tie my wire in, and you can do this a couple different ways. One thing I love to do with this fly, and I think a lot of folks do as well, is to tie in 3 strands of wire. And so I'm going to do 2 strands of green and then 1 actually slightly smaller strand of black. And so I want these all lined up together. I am going to put them kind of inside that bead head, and then I can start wrapping these. I keep them right on the side just to keep it a little flatter of a body profile, and be careful to create kind of a nice even body taper there as we wrap down. Alright, so I've got those in there. Now I can start wrapping back up the body. Again, just making sure that I'm doing kind of a very even taper. And I'm just creating the underbody that this wire is then going to ride on. And you do want a little bit of thickness to this fly. Okay, so I'd say that is a fairly nice little taper there. So now when I go to wrap these materials, I want to make sure they line up in the order that I want them. And so I want these to wrap, let me see if I've got it right. I want them to go olive, olive, black. It looks like I've got them doing that. And now the key is take your time wrapping this. And you really want to make sure you pull these wires pretty tight. Make sure they're staying in the order that you want them in. And that they're wrapping nice and flush next to one another. Alright, I came to probably about 75% of the way. And I like to just go further than 50%. That way, when I come and cover back over it with my Wingcase, I know that my thorax, my abdomen is plenty far enough forward. Okay. Just helicoptered all three of those off. They kind of split off at different sections, which is totally fine. So you can see there I have my wire abdomen. See some nice kind of olive black in there, just color variations in it. And we are going to cover that. We're going to cover that up actually with some epoxy to keep this like really svelte. So it's going to get, even a little smoother here. So next material I'm going to tie in is a little bit of flash. So you can go ahead, catch this right up on the very top of the fly. Let's make sure it's right on top. All right. And for the JuJu Baetis, the Wingcase is about 50% of it. So you can, cover it back to, I would say, close to that point. Might even come one wrap further there. Because, yeah, you do want it to be about, 50%. All right, so underneath that, I do want a little Wingcase on top of it. So I'm going to do, this is like a little thin skin. Again, just trap it right on top. Right on top of the fly, and just right on top of your flash. And so because I'm tying this in a variation where, it is kind of a bluing olive variation, I am going to keep the olive thread. A lot of people switch to like a black thread for the thorax here, but I'm going to stick with this. So I'm just building up a little bit of a thread head on it. And then a great material to actually use for this, the wings on it, the legs on the front, this is flouro fiber, and flouro fiber just has a really great kind of shiny, shimmery texture to it. It actually really, this light does not do it justice, but this is the same material that you actually use to do tails on an RS2. All right, so we can go ahead and just catch this right on the side. I'm going to do the side closest to me first here. And this material does kind of want to run away on you a little bit, so you really have to be careful to position it right where you want it. All right, that is one side in, and we'll trim that down. But you can put it on there long and then trim it down. Okay, same thing on this close side. Just adjusting this, making sure it's kind of coming out right where I want it there. Okay, so I've got my little legs coming out there. Now what I can go ahead and do, I'll leave those right where they're at. I can pull this thin skin right over the top. I'm just going to do 3 wraps. I'll fold it back. and just catch it. That way it is not crowding over the front. Our flash will even cover that. So then go ahead and pull my flash forward on top of that and catch that. And I don't want too much of a collar, so I'm actually going to do one wrap and then I'm going to tie off so I don't build up any sort of bulk in front of that. I want a nice tidy little collar. I do not want a big honking collar that crowds over my bead. Alright, nice tidy collar. And now we can trim everything up. Cut my flash as close as I possibly can. It's looking good right up on top there. Alright, and then I can trim these legs just past where the thorax is. Okay, you can see that one is wanting to hug to the side there, so just give it a little pull. Alright, and that's looking pretty darn good. The last step to this here is we are going to kind of cover over this with epoxy, and we just want a nice even epoxy body all the way over this entire fly. Careful not to cover over the top of your leg materials on it. Can hit it with my light. So it's looking pretty good and even now. So now we will start to hit it, and you can see also the way that flouro fiber just really glows in that light. Takes a little bit of time to get the epoxy right, the wire right, the legs right, just all these little pieces. But this is a great Baetis pattern. As you can see now, because all that epoxy is on there, there's really no water resistance from any of these materials, so it sinks super quickly, which is really nice. And yeah, great Baetis imitation. Definitely, if you live anywhere in Colorado, this is a great go-to pattern. If you live in the Midwest, you should definitely have this in your box, as they have really prevalent blue-winged olive hatches. If you haven't seen my driftless video series, Chasing the Blue-winged Olive Hatch around Wisconsin in the spring, you should check that out. This is a great go-to pattern for a situation like that. So I'm just really torching it with this UV here. I want this to solidify all the way through because there's so much UV on it. But yeah, tie these up, guys. Let me know how they fish for you. Let me know if there's anything I missed or anything I could improve upon in this pattern. And as always, let me know what fly down below you would like to see me tie next. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. That right there is the JuJu Baetis.